Welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. This radio show is for the dreamers and the doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena. It's for those who dare greatly so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither knew victory nor defeat. Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers. We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it. We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain a rational optimism about the impact that we can have. This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. Here we go.
Show number 1.
How many shows until we get canceled?
Well, tomorrow is never promised.
Let's make it a good one.
All right. Okay. So let's get this out of the way early. What is the show all about?
So the reason that I initially signed up to do this is there are ways that successful people approach things that are very different from the ways that unsuccessful people approach things. And right there is an example. As I said that, there's a segment of our listening audience that substituted the word rich for successful. There's a way that rich people do things that poor people don't. I didn't say rich, I said successful, which we'll define in a lot of different ways. It could be financially, it could be the impact that you have. You could be successful because you've got a great family. But the point is, if you're achieving some level of success, it's because you think about things differently than people who don't have success think about them. So successful people, whether they're financially successful or they have great family lives, or if they have real freedom of time to do whatever they want, which is my definition of success, or they're having an impact on their city or state or country or the world, those successful people think about things differently than others. So for the people who want to achieve uncommon success, we'll be on this show, teaching them how to become the type of person who achieves success. And I'll let you in on a little secret. It's not through conventional wisdom or conventional thinking. It's through a maverick mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So like many things you do, you launched this show with 100% of the plan written out. We don't have a website. We don't have an email address. So if people want to follow along and learn more,
so
tell people where to go.
Yep. Right now at this moment, the only way that you can find out more about us is we're on Facebook at Maverick Mindset Radio. Okay. And I think that's a really great example is we've jumped off this cliff.
Yeah.
And people will watch the airplane be assembled on the way down. And I can tell you, and you and I have talked about this, and don't worry, we'll explain who we are in a minute. But you and I have talked about this. The things in my life that have brought me success are the things that have not been perfectly mapped out in advance. They're the things that I just stepped up to the plate and took a swing at. So we'll get more into that later. But Maverick Mindset Radio on Facebook is the best place to follow us. We will have the website coming. We will have the YouTube account set up. We're of course streaming live. We're live on Talk Erie and its various frequencies. So follow us on Facebook, Maverick Mindset Radio. You can suggest topics. You can contribute to Q&A. Maybe you could even apply to be a guest on the show. So Maverick Mindset Radio on Facebook. But I hate to say it. Just about anybody can have a radio show or a podcast or a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And the key for me was to create a show or a podcast and a channel eventually that's going to be worth listening to.
Yeah. And we plan to be that for entrepreneurs, small business owners, job creators, contrarian thinkers, the movers of society.
It's probably worth spending some time now then talking about who we are and why we think people should tune in. Because I've noticed as I've become more famous on TikTok, there are a lot of people who are like, who are you and what gives you the authority to tell me what to do or what to think about?
Well, as we were preparing for the show, you and I were talking about why you asked me to co-host this show with you. So talk a little bit about that and then about me. So
your favorite
yes.
topic. So I think it makes a sense to talk a little bit about my business and how you came into that and where we are now. So I am primarily an entrepreneur. I just happen to be a lawyer, and one of my businesses is I own a law firm. And we launched in 2010 or 2011. And we always had some level of success. We focused on helping entrepreneurs and small businesses. Erie is not the strongest market to launch a practice like that, but we grew despite that. I say that we're the least entrepreneurial city in America because there are actually statistics to back that up. And I talk about how if you go 3 blocks east from our office, you enter the poorest zip code in America. Yet here we are in 2024. We've been ranked as one of the 500 fastest growing law firms 3 years in a row. I missed the 4th year because I forgot to apply. We were just on the Inc. Regionals list of the fastest growing companies in the Northeast portion of the country. So Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, all the way up to Maine. And we've grown to 20 or 25 employees. I joke, like depending on my mood and depending on the day. And we do millions of dollars of revenue, and we have impact on hundreds and thousands of business, hundreds or thousands of businesses, and all of their employees and all of their families. And it's really important to us to help entrepreneurs succeed. So that's where the law firm comes from. And then as you've seen since then, we've launched other things. We launched Pennywise Tax Strategies in July, which is helping business owners save money on their taxes without getting into trouble with the IRS. And now I joke I started my firm as a side hustle. Now I've got these other side hustles going on where, hey, we have a radio show. So really, there was a tipping point for us back in about 2019 where I personally and my wife Jackie, we both really started to invest in personal development and professional development. So it's been about 5 years for us now where we've really studied this stuff. And if you added it all up over the last 5 years, with the coaching programs and the seminars that we've gone to and the travel, we've spent over $1 million on this, right? So you want to complain about student loans. Yeah, student loans are a joke to what we've invested in this, but the results come from that, right? Like I don't need to sit here and list it all out, but the life that I live now is so different from 5 years ago and really so different from most people that I know. So you got lucky.
I did.
Because
I came in at the right time.
you got in at 2021, which was, so in January of 2021, you started as my assistant.
Yeah.
And I don't remember why I hired you. I think we got along really well at the interview, which used to be pretty much my only criteria for hiring people. So I brought you in as assistant. You had no experience with it. You had no background with it. And I think we both agree it wasn't the best fit for you, that particular job.
Correct.
But 2 months later, in March, we launched a new practice area in our business that since March of 2021, so we're talking in 3 years, has generated almost $10 million of revenue, 9.6 million, 9.6 or 9.7 is the number. So to go from a thing that didn't exist to where we are now, and you knew nothing about it, you didn't bring any particular experience or expertise, what you brought was an attitude of, I'm going to grow and I'm going to learn. And I'm going to figure this out along with these guys, along with Adam and Jackie. And here we are, right? Yeah. We've to go from that to in December of 2023, like we flew in one of our employees from South Africa to come to our firm's Christmas party, right? Like that's really cool. And by the way, as a result of you being along for that journey and figuring it out with us and growing with us and learning and trying new things and really being entrepreneurial and having a mindset of constantly wanting to learn and grow, your income is doubled. Yep. You drive a $60,000 or $70,000 car, and and I think we can say that like Ashley in 2021 is probably really grateful for the decisions, or Ashley in 2024 is really grateful for the decisions that Ashley in 2021 made, and at every step since then. We were even talking about it earlier this week. Like you do sales for us, and last week you signed up for a 4-hour sales training and didn't tell us. You just went and did it because you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to improve. So that's why I asked you to join the show, is because not only have you been along for the journey with us, but we've seen your growth too, which is really, really cool. And then even yesterday or the day before when we were preparing it, I said, have you been on the radio before? And he said, I was interviewed once, like on the street. Like, okay, this is different. First of all, we're in a 42 square foot room, and there's a plumbing truck parked outside of us, so we can't even see the great view. But little different environment than you've been in before. So yeah, you've seen a lot of this firsthand, and I think that's been really cool. So I don't know, I guess you've been here for 3 years as part of the businesses that we have. Tell our listeners a little bit about what you've seen.
Well, the growth of the firm in the last 3 years has been incredible. The staff has tripled. The revenue has more than tripled. And with that comes more opportunities and experiences that you have been able to share with the team. But the biggest thing, though, was the mindset work, because most people think they can just pick something and do it and become successful because they have a talent for it or love for it. But you put in the time and the money to build this mindset. And I remember when I was your assistant having to do your calendar, the classes and the workshops, and it was like, we'll block off all these hours one day. No, it's every day. And I'm so it was the action to implement the changes has been extremely motivating to watch, because it became more than just owning and running a business. It became a passion to make these ideas and dreams come to fruition. So yeah, it's been a ride the last 3 years. And I would get these messages when Adam came up with these ideas where he's going to jump off the cliff with, that said, buckle up. And I'd be like, oh no, but I don't think I've taken my seatbelt off for the last 3 years, because it's been nonstop, which has been, contributed to the growth that I've had, because I've been along for the ride. So
and here we are.
Yeah.
So I think the point is this, and this is why we brought this to the show, is I share a lot of lessons with our team, and I share a lot of lessons with our clients, and hopefully our team shares lessons with the clients. But it was time to get on a little bigger platform.
Yeah. And
I think that, life's too short to make all of the mistakes on your own. So I've learned some really valuable lessons. My parents were entrepreneurs. I learned a lot from them. Of course, I grew my own business, and I want to share what I've learned. And I actually am in the process of doing this too, where I'm writing a book that should be out really soon, where I learned lessons from my parents. And when I started a business, I had an unfair advantage because I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. I've now exceeded the level of success that my parents had. And I hope my kids have an even more unfair advantage when they go out into the real world, whether they decide to start a business or not. So I think that's it. Let's get into today's topic.
All right, so this is show number 1.
Wait a minute, I got to stop you.
Why?
Did you know on our run of show, I said we were going to start today's topic at 9:17, and it is 9:17. See, this plane is coming together.
Okay, now we're going to get behind. All right. All right, so this is show number 1. We didn't want to fumble around with this first show. We wanted to provide a lot of value right out of the gate.
Yeah, I've been saying we want to come out swinging. We could have spent a lot of time, organizing all of there were words that Joel used that I had never even heard before, about like intros and pre-recorded segments and stuff like that. And we could have spent a whole lot of time on that, but I decided I'm just going to dig into the content, and all of that other stuff will fall in place, as we saw at 9:17.
It's not your way to dig into. You just jump off the cliff.
Yeah, exactly. And here we go.
We don't plan.
Yep.
So, all right, what's the topic we are covering today, and why is it important?
So I wish I had written down like the really hot headline for this, but people don't achieve their goals consistently. Like most people don't consistently achieve most of their goals, right? And there are reasons for that. So I came up with 8 reasons why people don't achieve their goals. And the point of the show today is, let's just get this stuff out there, because we are if you've got a clear definition of success and you know what your goals are, let's identify the ways or the reasons that you're not hitting your goals, so that we can stop that from happening in the future. So today, 8 reasons why you're not accomplishing your goals. Okay.
Well, let's dive right in, because every business owner gets to this point. Everyone gets to this point. This isn't just a business owner thing. This is a people thing. Mm-hmm. We get super pumped about something, and we do all the things. Like, if we're going to start going to the gym, we're going to go every day. We get the gear, we sign up, we get our headphones, like we're ready. We're going to start the new diet. So we meal prep, we get the shakes going. The infamous New Year's Eve resolutions, right?
We're replaying this show January 1st. That's going to be good.
We have to. So 5 days in, we're good. We're going strong. 10 days in, like day 15, we're starting to be like, I'm going to take a day off, or I'm not doing this day. going to take a week, right? At some point, that quitting point, like it happens. We get to that. Why? What's happening? Like, what is going on?
And even that, that's an instance where you've set the goal and started and abandoned it. Yeah. But I think of all there's a lot of it on social media, right? The guy who posts, I'm not going to drink any more beer until I run a half a marathon, or the person that says, they see the Ferrari parked on the side of the road and they say, this is it, this is the car I'm going to have, and they never, that's obviously a material thing, but even like, I want to retire at 50. Okay, so let's get there, right? I'll call you on your 49th birthday and see how close you are. So this. What really fired me up about this is I have had this conversation with coaches and mentors of mine. And I was thinking of a particular example where it's really funny because I actually had a sales call yesterday with the Tony Robbins coach, and they follow the same script we do, which I'll talk about later. But he had a lot of questions about where I want to be in the future. And this didn't happen yesterday, but this had happened to me previously, where I told him, like, here's my goal. Here's what I want to achieve. I want the race car. I want the airplane. I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to have, I had it this morning where I drove in and I drove by a really fancy building, and, sort of recessed under the street is office space. And I looked in, and it is just this sea of cubicles. And I thought, thank God. That is not my life. Like, it's great for some people and it works, and I'm sure it's a wonderful place to work, but I looked in there and thought, no, here I am almost running late to my own radio show. I'm very grateful for this life instead of that. So when you're setting your goals and you need to get really clear on what you actually want, when you work with a coach or a mentor, the good ones tend to be at it's a high ticket sale, right? It's what some people would call a lot of money, although I've taken that out of my vocabulary. And I remember talking to this guy, and it was like 10 grand to work with him. And I couldn't come up with the money, right? I didn't want to put it on the credit card, and wasn't going out and doing the sales to make it happen. And, after about 2 months of like, Adam, you need to do this thing. You're not doing this thing. You're not coming up with the money. What's going on? And I said, I'm working on it. I really want to do it. And he said, no, you don't. You don't want it bad enough. And I, almost punched him in the face. And that part of the reason that coaches and mentors like that are so good is because they say profound things like that. Yeah. But the reality is there's a lot more to it than that. But what you'll see through the 8 reasons why you're not accomplishing your goals is it actually does kind of come down to you just don't want it bad enough. And that's a very like triggering adversarial way to put it. And for somebody like me, that's exactly the type of thing I need to take action, but that message doesn't work for other people. So let's couch this under like, that's the main reason. You just don't want it bad enough. The thing that you said you wanted, you weren't willing to do what you had to do in order to get it, but there's more to it than that. So let's talk about item number 1. The first reason why you're not accomplishing your goals is it's not a high enough priority for you. So that is a nicer or softer way of saying it. And I was thinking about this last night as I was driving back from Pittsburgh. Let's say my goal was to retire at 50. Well, if you looked at my life right now and our expenses are what they are, and I'm taking the trips that I take, and I'm spending money on things instead of saving it for retirement, I'm not living in a way that actually, like, my priorities now of like, I would rather drive a really cool car that I got to make payments on than put that money away for retirement. Right. And so it's not a high enough priority for me, that future version of me. I'm putting something else in front of that. The same thing is, I want to, I want to get on stage more. I want to sing more. I want to go to and do a play at the Playhouse. Well, if you audition and don't get a part, then you don't rehearse, you don't practice, you don't put the work in, then what you've done is put other things ahead of that. And so there are 2 ways to figure out what your priorities are. If you say what your goals are and the following 2 things don't align with that, I can guarantee you're not going to achieve the goal. And that is your bank account and your calendar. Where are you spending your time and where are you spending your money? And I'll tell you where your priorities actually are. If your priorities are, I want to spend time with my kids, but you're, at the bar every night for happy hour with your coworkers, what really is the priority for you? And that can be a really hard thing for people to face. So if you've set the goal, or you have the thing on the vision board, or you've got this dream that you want to have, and you're not spending time or money to actually get that, something else has become a higher priority for you.
Right.
And it's not always conscious, and it's not always obvious, and you don't always say it out loud, but that's the reality of, if you're not getting what you want, step one, look at your calendar and your bank account to see what your priorities actually are. So that was
And a lot of times we don't want to acknowledge that. Right. That's probably a little triggering for people, right? When you say step on the scale, right? Because you got to admit that the thing that you really want, you're not investing the time in. And that's hard for people, I think.
So
too.
we're going to get into action items and ways to fix that. But yeah, one of the ways that you address that is you work with a coach who calls you on your BS.
Yeah.
And they say, like, they'll tell you exactly how it is. Yeah, you say that you want to get in better shape. All I see is Netflix and DoorDash on your credit card. And, there's no time on your calendar to actually go to the gym and work out. So do you really want to get in better shape? And sometimes you need an external person to call you on that. Yeah. Okay, number 2, second reason why you're not accomplishing your goals is you're not actually really clear on what your goals and priorities are. This is a tough one. We could spend a whole episode on this, but for a lot of people, we either don't spend the time thinking about what we want. So we're going to go to graduate high school, go to college, get a job, and at 62, cash out the 401k, right? And that's going to be my life. And I'm going to hopefully be able to put my kids through college and take my 2 weeks of vacation every year. But they never actually sit down and think about what it is that they want. Most people in those situations are going to sit there and say, I don't like what I have. Yeah. I'm not fulfilled with what's going on in my life. But they know what they don't want, but they're not really clear on what they do want. Or they're not clear on why they want it. And this one is super important. So taking some time to get really clear about what your goal actually is. It's funny, I do vision boards and, put images of things I want to do and the type of person I want to be and things like that. And it's funny, over time, the vision boards over the last 5 or 6 years successfully whatever, have fewer and fewer items on them. Like I get more and more. Yeah. Well, it's you know what? It's really these 3 things I want, not these 37.
Yeah.
And getting that clarity. I think it was Steve Jobs who said focus isn't about saying yes to one thing. It's about saying no to the million other things that are going to compete against that. So I think getting a really clear understanding of what your goal or priority actually is, and really putting time into it. And the problem is, we're going to get deep very quickly here, is a lot of us are doing what our parents did or what our parents told us we should do without actually going through the process of thinking, what do I actually want, right? Like that was a breakthrough for me, is deciding that the way that my parents lived, and they had a successful business and they were happy and they're retired now, but it wasn't how I want to live, right? And I'll give you one really good example. My parents are really frugal when it comes to cars. Like my dad is a car guy. He's got a car collection. He's had race cars, but his daily driver is always the highest mileage, biggest piece of crap, most unreliable vehicle that there is. But he doesn't really deal with buying cars and having them depreciate and lose money on them. He can buy a car, drive it for 2 or 3 years, and sell it for what he had into it, and he takes a lot of pride in that. And that was how I started my adult life, and I guess even prior to that. But then there was this moment where I had this Jeep Wrangler, which they hold their value really, really well. And I would pull into my kids' preschool. I would drop Royce off at preschool, and I would shut the door to my car, and pieces of rust would fall off, right? Or there was a time where I didn't have power locks because it was a Jeep, and the door locks froze. So I had to climb in through the back window of the Jeep, but I was in a suit, and I threw out my back, and it's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So then I went out and bought my first new car, brand new pickup truck with the giant sunroof and vented seats, which if you haven't experienced vented seats, I'd suggest you find a friend that has them so you can experience it. And that was since that moment, and that was probably 6 or 7 years ago now, since that moment of buying my first new car, which was reliable and comfortable and had a warranty in case it broke and I didn't have to worry about driving my kids around in it, like that has been a really good example of, you know what, my priority is not saving money on a vehicle.
Right.
My priority is enjoying what I'm driving and getting there reliably and not having to worry about not making it to my destination. So number 2 reason why you're not accomplishing your goals is you're not clear on what your goals and what your priorities actually are.
Do you think people, sometimes it's not that they're not clear, but they don't think they deserve or want, or they can have the things that they actually want? Like it's there, like we almost kind of know deep down what we want, but we don't deserve that. Like, I mean, I remember when we were getting the Jeep.
Your Jeep.
My Jeep.
Yep.
Yeah. And you said, what do you want? I knew what I wanted, but to say it out loud, because it's an expensive car, was I
it's not expensive.
deserving?
It's not expensive.
I know, that's a whole different topic. We're going to get into
that
it.
Car is so cheap compared to a $250,000 Porsche 911 GT3 RS. Anyway, go ahead.
It was what I didn't think I deserved that, right? And so we sat in another Jeep. We were sitting there, and this Jeep, I really wanted a sunroof, right? Remember we were sitting in the other one, and it didn't. And you're like, well, what about this one? And I was going to be like, that's fine.
It's good enough.
It's good enough. But you're like, but it doesn't have the sunroof. Didn't you want the sunroof? And I'm like, oh, yeah. But like, it's so easy to talk yourself out of what you want.
So that's going to relate to item number 6.
Okay.
So don't worry. We're gonna get there. I should have told you the order that I was going to attack these.
Okay.
Things in. All right. So we are 2 items in to the 8 reasons why you're not accomplishing your goals. This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, streaming live from downtown Erie, Pennsylvania, and on Facebook, the biggest website in the world. It's big deal. So let's get into the 3rd reason, and this kind of relates to the story I told with reason number 2. The 3rd reason you're not accomplishing your goal is there's actually pressure from your family and friends, and you don't even realize it. Yeah. I can't tell you the number, and it's sad, and I feel bad about this situation. I can't tell you the number of people that don't really want to hang out with me anymore because, I became that guy, right? I'm the guy that drives the nice car. I'm the guy that moved into the nice house. I'm the guy that I love hanging out with my financially successful friends and talking about, having a nanny and the things that the nanny does for us. But there are certain rooms where I can't have that conversation or don't want to have that conversation because people are going to judge me. And they're going to say things, right? So I remember, this was another one from my parents. When we moved into our house about 1.5 years ago, it's a really nice house. And by Erie standards, it's at the higher end of the market. By national standards, it's like slightly above average. But I remember the first time my parents came over and my dad was helping me with the pool because I've never had a pool before. And they live in Florida and they have a pool year round. So I was driving to get some supplies for the pool. And it was just me and him. And he said, the house is awesome, which it is. He goes, yeah, it's weird though. Like you're at a point where I can't bail you out anymore. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like first of all, I don't think I've ever asked you to bail me out.
Right.
Second of all, it's like, I don't know that I even would, because that would require me to swallow my pride. But like when your parents who love you, he said that out of love. Yeah. He's worried, right? What if something happens? What if I get hit by a bus and I'm disabled and can't work anymore and generate the income to keep that house? Well, that's what disability insurance is for. But like that, he said it out of love, but dang, there's a part of me that says, gosh, maybe I shouldn't have bought this house.
Right. Like
maybe I shouldn't have taken this. It was a huge leap for me and Jackie. In fact, we were so anxious to get into that house that we didn't even sell our first house. So we had 2 mortgage payments for a period of time, which was the best. But comments like that happen all the time, and you need to become aware of them because they're actually preventing you from becoming successful. Same thing happens with your friends, right? You've got the friends from high school that everybody drives the Honda CRV. No offense to CRV owners, they're just not my favorite, and they're really super average cars. Joel's looking at me. I bet Joel drives a CRV. But the point is, when you go from the CRV and you go and buy the Mercedes, your friends are going to go, oh, well, you're that guy now. You're too cool for us. And they're joking, but it does actually stop you. It does actually slow you down. So knowing comments like that will come, that pressure can be really tough. And again, they say it because they're concerned about you, and they say it out of love because they know that you had to get uncomfortable and change your life to do those things, and they want you to be safe and comfortable. Well, safe and comfortable is no way to achieve goals. So the pressure from family and friends is the third reason why you're not actually accomplishing your goals.
Well, there's a little bit too, like people see you make the change, that mindset change.
Yep.
That's hard to watch. That's hard to watch if you also want to make that change and you can't, but you see somebody else doing it, right? So sometimes I feel like that's happening when it's that you see people making these changes and getting the things they want, and you want to do it too, and you just don't know how to get there. So it's almost like you don't want to see people grow and succeed.
Ooh, your success can shine a spotlight on other people's failures.
Yes.
That I didn't come up with that quote. I'm paraphrasing, I think, Alex Hermosi, but like that it makes them feel worse about themselves.
Yes.
And yeah, some people, and again, they may do it on purpose, or it may not be on purpose, but it's a pretty toxic trait that when they feel bad about not achieving the success that you have, they will say things to make themselves feel better about it.
Yeah.
And we're all right. I'm really excited about item number 6 because so much of this stuff is going to tie into that. But we're only on number 4, and this is related to the pressure from family and friends. But this is the pressure from your team and your employees. You've seen this. You've worked here for 3 years. No one else has worked here that long, even though we've been in business for 12 or 13 years. And you've seen we reach these moments where I say, hey guys, I'm climbing this next mountain. And you can come with me, but I'm not going to slow down or stop to stay at your level. And some people don't want to grow, and that's going to be part of our quote of the day today. But there is pressure from employees of, gosh, if like what got you here won't get you there is a common quote. Or what got you here will keep you stuck here.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, your coworkers, your employees, your team can keep you stuck there because it can be a really harsh, difficult conversation to say, hey, I don't think you're a fit for the next version of this business.
Yeah.
I don't think you're a fit for the next level of my life. And I'm inviting you to come with me, but you don't want to come. And a lot of people in that instance choose to stop or slow down because they don't want to hurt people's feelings. So they make this sacrifice on their own of, okay, you know what, then I guess maybe they're right. And maybe I will stop or slow down. And maybe, when I had 2 employees, it was enough. And that 3rd employee is really going to be too much. And you've seen that. You've seen us have to part ways with people that they were great. And I wouldn't change anything about their work with us, but they weren't willing to go to that next level. And if had we, sometimes we wait too long to make the decision, and it definitely slows down our momentum. So the 4th reason you're not accomplishing your goals is it's because you've got your team and your coworkers that may be slowing you down. So that's a good one. Okay. Number 5. This is one of my favorites because I catch myself doing it all the time. 5th reason why you're not achieving your goals is you build in the excuse before you even get started.
Oh yeah.
You create the excuse before you even go so that you give yourself an out. You give yourself a reason not to accomplish it. And this is so huge. One of my favorites is, and again, I'm as guilty of this as anyone, but I at least catch myself doing it. Procrastination. We can joke about not overly preparing for this show and it'll work out. But the reality is if episode 1 flops, guess what we can say? Well, we didn't prepare that hard. We kind of got it together at the last minute. We could have scripted and rehearsed this over and over and over and completely nailed it. Now, that's actually not going to be the highest value of this show. There's still some level of preparation that we have to do. But the people who come into, a keynote speaking event and say, you know what? I didn't really prepare for this. I was up late last night. They're pre-framing their excuse to fail. They're giving themselves an out rather than putting in the effort and saying, you know what? I've been saying it for weeks. we are coming out swinging in episode 1. We are going to crush episode 1. And that's a big promise to make because it could flop. I haven't seen the Facebook comments yet. I'm sure there's some troll out there saying, you know, Adam, your nose is running and you're sniffling and what a disaster this show has been. But procrastination's a big one. Or people wait, they say, well, you know what? The timing wasn't perfect. So I'm going to wait until the timing is perfect or the situation is just right.
Yeah.
So they build in these excuses so that if things get hard or things get difficult, they already give themselves a way out.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself giving excuses before the things even come true, eliminate those. Like your choice is yes and yes. Is this going to happen? Yes or yes. Don't give yourself the excuse, the way out.
So what you're saying is what you're telling yourself determines what you're going to do.
Well, exactly. Don't give yourself the alternative. Don't give yourself a way for it not to work. Yes, you need backup plans. Yes, you need contingency plans. But if the point is you've got a goal and you're not achieving that goal, you've given yourself a way out too early in that process. Yeah. Instead, just say, you know, that's the goal and I'm going to accomplish the goal. That's it. That's the only alternative here. And too many people don't take that approach. They give themselves an excuse to not accomplish the thing.
So somebody said, oh, but Adam, I say that all the time and I failed. That didn't work. What do you say? What do you say to them? Because did they like the first time? So we failed we didn't give it. We said we're going to come out swinging. We did it.
Yep.
It flopped. Now what?
Well, we're going to go try again.
Right.
I mean, there's things that we learn for sure. And in fact, we're going to prepare differently for our next 49 episodes of this show until we get canceled.
But do you think that you knew right away we're going to do it again? Is that a stopping point? That's not an option, right? No, I failed. I'm done. I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah, and we talk about this an awful lot. And actually, all right, let me jump into point number 6 because I think this is going to tie a lot of these things together. A lot of these things are really closely related because when we talk about failure, it often comes back to this. Reason number 6 why you're not accomplishing your goals is you're afraid of what other people are going to think. Either you're worried about what they're going to think if you fail, or you're worried about what they're going to think if you actually succeed. Because like success shaming is a very real thing in the world, particularly in Erie, Pennsylvania. But like that's a big concern for people.
Yeah.
What and I know that you and I talked about this in preparation for the show of like, listen, I can get up on a stage and talk to an audience and see how they're reacting to things and adjust course. I can't do that on the radio.
No.
Like I just got to believe that this is going to work out really, really well. And I think it is so far. But being afraid of what other people are going to think is a huge reason why people don't complete their goals. So the failure one is a really important one, and we'll talk about this on future shows. I think society gets failure completely wrong, but it's so easy for the critic, right? That's why in our intro to the show, I cite the man in the arena. It's so easy for the critic to jump in and say, haha, told you so, loser. It's like, yeah, but at least I tried. But that I told you so moment is so difficult for people. You know, I want to go and I'll use the theater example because I was talking to somebody about this recently. I'm going to go and audition for the play, right? This is not my personal story, but I'm going to go and audition for the play. And then you don't get the part.
Yeah.
And you know people are talking about it.
Yeah.
Or at least you think you know people are talking about it. Chances are they don't even care and they didn't even notice. But there's so much concern given for what are other people going to think. If I say we're going to go and knock show episode number 1 out of the park, what are people going to think if it doesn't happen? Well, for me, I don't care. I'm going to come back for episode 2.
Yeah.
Blowing your minds Wednesdays at 9. Came up with that one last night. But that's the point. I'm going to come back and try it again, right? But too many other people, they would allow that to stop. They're too worried. I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to step up to the plate because I don't want other people to judge me as a loser or as a failure. But the flip side of that is if you set the big goal and you hit it, people are going to judge you for winning too.
Yeah.
In fact, the judgment may even be harsher. One of my favorites is like anybody who makes money. And again, a lot of my examples come from Erie, Pennsylvania. But anybody who makes money has to be lying or cheating or ripping people off, right? That is such a common response. You pull up to the stoplight next to the guy in the Porsche and you say, man, I wonder who he took advantage of to get that. And that's not how it works. Yes, there are fraudulent, rip-off oriented people out there, but the reality is, for true long-term sustained success, you have to add value to people's lives. In order for us to get paid to provide the services that we provide, we need to make their lives better. In fact, they've got to get more money or more value out of what we do for them than the money that they could have spent, right? You and I could trade right now. You could give me a $10 bill and I could give you a $20 bill.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to feel really good about that because I know you need that $10 more than I do, right? That profit that you gained, I'm going to feel really good about. Right. So I would actually engage in that trade. And the success shaming piece of it is we don't want to be viewed as that rich jerk. And this comes back to the high school friends who, when you start driving the nicer car, living in the nicer house, oh, it must be nice. Yeah, actually, it is super nice. I assure you my life is better now than it was. And guess what? I wish you could have this experience. So this is one where I've encouraged people to like rent the experience, like just feel. You see people be successful. This happened to me, I flew when I was a kid, and we'd see the people sitting in first class and say, oh, I wonder who those people are. Must be nice. I'm sure somebody else is paying for that. And then, I got into my mid-30s and I would look at those people and think, why isn't that me? Like what is different about those people's lives that I shouldn't at least try that, right? My favorite now is when Penny, who's very small for her age, 6 years old, sits in first class and she's got goldfish crackers all over the place and the headset's on. And I know there's people walking by looking at her going, what, must be a trust fund baby or something, right? Yeah. I'm sure they're saying something, but it doesn't really matter to me. But the point is, there was a moment where Jackie and I were flying from Erie to Phoenix, and I said, you know what? Let's try first class. Let's just see what it's like. Oh my God, it's awesome. I've flown economy, I think, once since then, and it was just actually a couple weeks ago. I had to go to Nashville, and it was miserable. I'm not gonna degrade any airlines, but you know who you are. But the point is, I allowed myself the experience just to see, like, what does first class actually feel like, and it's really great. Now, the flip side is I've gone and test-driven cars or looked at RVs. $1 million motorhome is a really cool motorhome. And I got in there and said, I don't know. I don't need this. I don't want this. This is not what I'm aspiring for. So I think giving yourself that experience of, if successful people do or have or see things, how can you rent that in your life and get a little bit of that experience? And you get over the success shaming thing pretty quickly because it feels so good, right? Yeah. Like the way that our housekeeper rolls our towels and puts them in the crate in the workout room, it feels like I live in a hotel. And had I never stayed at a really nice hotel, I would have never had the experience of knowing what that was like. And now it's my life, right? So being afraid of what other people think is reason number 6. Reason number 7, why you're not accomplishing your goals today, live on the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, is you over-prepare. This one hit home for me. Yeah. We could, this is happening with my book right now. The book was supposed to be out by the end of last year, and today is March 27th. It's still not done. So much time is spent making it perfect and making sure it's flawless that it doesn't actually get off the ground. Yeah. Instead, we just jumped in and said, you know what? I know enough. I can get in front of a microphone for an hour and teach lessons to people and provide some value. Or, like I said, we could have scripted this all out. We could have rehearsed it. We could have come into the studio and tested all of this stuff in advance. Yeah. But we knew, you know what? It's going to be good enough. And here we are with a radio show. Yeah. And I texted my parents this morning. He said, my radio show goes live at 9. I told you this before we started. My radio show goes live at 9. And they said, we didn't know you have a radio show. And it's like, yeah, but are you surprised? Like, no, but that's the point. This came together in, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks from idea quickly to here we are on the air with no idea what we're doing. And I bet there are people out there who heard the same episode of Entre Radio 814 where they said, we're going off the air, we're done with the show, we're moving on to the next chapter of our lives. And I guarantee there are people who listened to that show and said, gosh, I'd like to have a radio show. And they're still saying that today. They're still preparing, they're still researching, they're still figuring it out. So over preparation can be a reason that you're not accomplishing your goals, because it prevents you from even getting started. You've got this ideal of it's got to be perfect, and first of all, it never is.
No.
But second of all, it's going to prevent you from getting started in the first place. So that over preparation, the overthinking, the I have to build this completely before I launch it is usually wrong.
Yeah.
Usually you can get, it's the tech startups call it an MVP, a minimum viable product. Like, get it out there into the world, test it, and get some feedback on it. Here's my guess. We're going to get out of episode 1 and people are going to say, hey, that was really great. Here's what I loved. Here's what I didn't love. And we'll adjust course based on that. So now we're even farther ahead of the person sitting listening right now saying, man, I wish I had a radio show. Yeah. Right. So
remember when you asked me and you're like, sent me a message, what do you think about a radio show? And I'm like, I'm in. And you're like, you didn't even wait to hear what it's about. I'm like, that's all right. Like, I'm in, right? Because I didn't want to think about it. I just
say yes and figure it out later.
Correct.
That's what we do. But that's the point. That's funny. That kind of proved the point. Why did I ask you to be on the show? Because you do things like that. Yep. All right. Cool.
Maverick Mindset.
There you go. All right. Item number 8. The reason you're not accomplishing your goals is you didn't realize how hard it was going to be. It ain't easy. Like, I was telling somebody about this last night. Both my Porsche and my airplane are broken right now. Yeah, that's way better than when my photocopier used to be broken, right? The photocopier that I had to redeem all my credit card points to set up, and it took me 3 cans of Labatt Blue Light to get the Wi-Fi connected to that thing. To now, like, yeah, to drive to Cleveland on Friday and see all the repairs that have to be made to my airplane. It's way, way better. But it wasn't easy. It was not easy, and you've seen a lot of it. You know, the struggles and the difficulties make it very easy to quit because people get this fantasy idea of how perfect things are going to be once they reach a certain level. Hey, once I make $75,000 a year, my life is going to be easy. Once I make $100,000 a year, my life is going to be easy. Once I make $1 million a year, my life is going to be easy. Wrong. Yeah. It's better. My problems are better, but I still got plenty of problems.
Yeah.
Plenty of issues, plenty of things that we have to deal with.
They hear you have all these things and you're doing all this stuff and it's that it's easy and then you've just quit. Like, I've got it and now it just comes to you without work. When they don't know, the other end of it is you're working harder than anyone else to still keep achieving and still keep going.
I work differently.
Yeah.
I'm not working harder. But I definitely work differently.
Yeah.
And I definitely hire more people and it definitely costs me more money, which is a whole mindset thing. But that's the point, right? There was a point that I could get with my law firm of generating a couple $100,000 of revenue a year. And I was working 6 days a week. And I remember the vacation I took to Disneyland where every time I was in line for a ride, I was emailing clients back and forth. And now, you know, it's been probably 7 years since then, 7 or 8 years since then. We help more people because our team is bigger, and we help them in better ways because our team is specialized and focused on the things that they do. So it's there. I have different issues now. I got more employment issues than I did back then when I didn't have any employees. And I've got, you know, the nut that we have to crack to make payroll every month is laughable compared to what life was like before. So yeah, it ain't easy, but here's the biggest thing on that is it's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important to set big goals. Like, to go from $100,000 a year to $110,000 a year isn't going to be worth it. Like, yeah, your cost of living raise at work or whatever, but how about let's go from $100,000 a year to $250,000 a year? That's a pretty significant. It's 2.5 times your income. Then all the crap that you have to deal with along the way is going to be worth it.
Yeah.
In fact, let's go from $100,000 a year to $1 million a year. Okay, I'm way more motivated to deal with the hurdles and the crap. I talk about the buckets of blood and sweat and tears in the basement of the law firm. Like, they were worth it to get where we are
right
now. And Jackie and I are talking about it right now. We have issues and problems that we're dealing with. And I told her a year from now, March 27th, 2025,
it'll be worth it.
We're going to look back at this and say, yes, I'm so glad that I did that. But I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think a lot of people think, there's this magic switch that gets flipped where everything is suddenly a whole lot easier. So those are our 8 reasons. Those are the 8 reasons why you're not accomplishing your goals. So let's do this. We did plan one segment today.
We did.
And it's the quote of the day.
Yes. Quote of the day is brought to you by Rust Belt Business Law. Rust Belt Business Law exists to help entrepreneurs with the issues that keep them up at night. All right, so we like to have a quote of the day towards the end of each show because, I mean, why not, right? Who doesn't like or need those little words of wisdom to get them through the day and to help motivate us? We all read them. We all listen to them. So today's quote,
Today's
Adam?
quote: "Without growth, we are all that we will ever be."
We chose this quote because growth allows those new experiences, opportunities, and also the challenges. And it's those things that lead us to achieving our goals and reaching our ultimate purpose.
And I think it tees us up for 49 more episodes of learning and growth.
Can't wait.
All right, love it. Okay, so the other thing that we wanted to make sure we really hit home on the show is action items, right? That's the biggest thing. If you've sat here for the last 50 minutes and listened to me talk about these different concepts, and I hope people got a lot out of it. And if you did, make sure you follow us, Maverick Mindset Radio on Facebook. Like, comment, subscribe, tell all your friends that you care about. We need action items. We need takeaways from this. So we take these 8 reasons why you're not accomplishing your goals, and at some point we'll have a website where we summarize those 8 things and share them all, but we're not there yet. Although my new marketing assistant starts today. So I wanted to talk about a couple of action items to take out from this. So we're off for a week. You've got a week to go and work on this stuff and think about it. And I don't think what we're telling people to do is go out and completely disrupt their lives. We're just saying, hey, take some steps here, right? Like, this show is about education and mindset. None of it matters if you don't actually implement. So let's get into a couple of the ideas that I had to take out into the world. Okay. This is like my favorite part of church, where they say, go out and spread the word, right? Let's get boots on the ground here and make this happen. Okay, first thing, we've gone through the 8 reasons why you're not accomplishing your goals. Start recognizing them. When your friends are making those comments about success that you've achieved, when you're giving yourself the out or the excuse before you even get started, when you just continue to prepare instead of launching, when you're affected by what other people say or think, start recognizing that. Like, that's step 1 to this. So that's we've raised some awareness. Take it out there with you. Okay, I had 3 other things. We kicked off with priorities. Yes. You're not accomplishing your goals because you're not clear about your goals and priorities, or you just aren't properly following them. Your bank account and your calendar are out of whack. Here's been a really fun mental exercise that Jackie and I go through, is when we've got a priority. For example, I want to retire at 50, but that conflicts with the way that I want to live right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the experts out there would tell you, well, just decide which one you want. And there's some truth to that. But as a mental exercise, we call it anding. And we say, yeah, but what if we could do both? What would it look like to live our current lifestyle and still be able to retire at 50? They may not need to be mutually exclusive things. So we have a lot of fun with anding. This comes up in the business. We look at the budget and say, okay, we can choose this or this. And then one of us has to say, yeah, but what if we did both? What if we anded that and we could do both of them? So that's one. Second action item, think about working with a coach or a mentor. Yeah. That person that can help you cut through your BS and identify your excuses and get you back on the right path and get you focused on your priorities. And then the third one, and we're going to spend time on this in future episodes, is develop systems and habits. So you use the gym example of people that go to the gym for 10 or 12 or 15 days, and then it becomes less frequent, and then eventually they just stop. Well, if you had a system of hire the coach, hire the trainer who's going to be there at 5:17 a.m., right, who's texted you at 4:47 to make sure you're awake and you're getting your day started. Those types of systems and those habits. I'm doing it right now. I'm back on 75 hard, right? I'm on day 3 of phase 1, and already I feel better because I'm consistently working out and exercising and eating better and doing all the things I have to do. So those are our takeaways for today. All right. So that was it.
That's it.
Show 1.
We did it.
I think it went great.
Of course it did.
There was part of me that was worried about going for an hour, but we've talked about this. Yeah, you knew. You've heard me rant and rave about things. So we'll be back in a week, next Wednesday, same place, same time.
Say it. What's the tagline?
Blowing your minds every Wednesday at 9.
Maverick Mindset.
We'll be back.